Hey guys, I haven't made a video in a little while. I've been very busy and I have some big projects that I want to work on. But I wanted to make something. I had a little free time this Sunday, so I thought I would just make a short video of a few recommendations. Some anime I really like that don't really get talked about much online, not that I've heard, and I feel should be watched more. And I might make more videos about them in the future. But just a few recommendations, just a quick video for someone to enjoy. I always like to say my 3 favorite anime recommendations are Kekkaishi, Katanagatari, and Kinnikuman. Or as I like to call them, the KKK of anime. But in all seriousness, I've already talked about Kinnikuman. I had a video about that I accidentally recorded in portrait mode for some reason. I might have been sick that day, who knows. But I really like that anime. I've talked at length about that and how I'm excited for it to return, and I am absolutely going to make an update video when more information comes out about that. I am super excited. I love wrestling. I love anime. I love enormous guys beating up other guys, and a little bit of national stereotypes along the way is sometimes a little funny. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to make jokes. Still okay to make jokes. So if you want to go watch that video, go ahead. I'll talk more about Kinnikuman in the future, and when I do, I will most certainly do so in landscape. But for now, I want to focus on those other 2, Katanagatari and Kekkaishi. I'll start with Katanagatari. Really, really awesome anime. It's very unique, and there's no dub for it, and it's not really on any streaming platforms. I believe it's on Netflix, but only in Japan, not anywhere else. So for those reasons, it's even a little harder to find online so far, even like illegal means, as far as I'm aware. So for those reasons, a lot of people haven't watched it or even heard of it. It hasn't really made its way to America. It didn't even come out that long ago. I want to say 2016, something like that, around that time. And it's 1 season long. But each episode, it's like 12 episodes, but each episode is 45 minutes. So it's like a little mini movie for each episode. And it's a shame. It's a shame that no one outside of Japan's really heard of it. I think it's phenomenally written. It's very emotional. It gets to be very emotional, I should say. And it's based on a light novel, so far as I know. And I have seen the light novel in a few Barnes & Nobles that I visited, so some people are aware of it, but more people should be. It's really good. It's also kind of a slow burn, I would say, for being 1 season. But of course, with the length, it's kind of like the length of 2 seasons, technically. It is really more of a slow burn. Let me just give you the premise. So there's these mythical swords that were made by this extremely awesome swordsmith, and the swords are kind of scattered around and lost, but the leader of Japan, he's anticipating some wars coming up in the future, and he wants his hands on those swords for his soldiers so that he can win the war. Political intrigue involved there with some of the main characters, but essentially this young woman is tasked with finding those swords. She can't do it on her own, so she goes and finds the main character, who is just out living on an island, and she thinks he is a strong enough warrior to help her find and gather these swords, which are most likely in use by bad actors at the moment, and most of them were. And the main character, to me, is so compelling and interesting. He's innocent, and something we've kind of seen before. That kind of pure of heart, innocent character is not, is not super unique to a lot of shonen stories, but it's something that I really like. And I think it's played much better than a sort of Luffy or Goku character. And the main character is tasked with collecting these swords, but he's so strong that he has to limit his abilities. He has to hold back in every fight just to get the swords, so he doesn't accidentally kill people or break the swords that he's attempting to collect. And there's a lot of political intrigue, like I mentioned, along the way, which I really like, that it's just this kind of factor that's behind the scenes playing to the story the whole time. And I really, this is definitely an anime that you need to not be spoiled on. I'll be honest, it might feel like it's getting boring about halfway through. You're like, oh my goodness, I've listened to these guys have conversations 100 times or whatever. But it is building up to just a phenomenal finale. It really spends time building relationships between the characters. So when the finale comes, you really care what happens to them. You really care about the events. You care about how the story ends because you're invested in the characters, which unfortunately is not too common in shows these days. You never get it doesn't take the time to get you invested, and so you don't really care if this character dies or that character lives, or the story just isn't all that interesting. But with Katanagatari, I think it is interesting. And again, I can't spoil the end, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. It is phenomenal. I was in college when I watched it, and I remember being in my dorm room, literally getting to my feet as I'm looking at my computer screen watching this anime and cheering out loud and like getting actually emotionally I was so invested in the characters and in the story and how it was going to end, which I didn't know how it was going to end. There was no spoilers because nobody has ever talks about it in America. And so I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was so excited and blown away by things, and might have been a few tears going down the cheeks because it is just incredible ending. It is an incredible ending, I would say. And I would definitely recommend it. I don't think it's necessarily something you should binge. Maybe something you watch an episode here or there every other week, or an episode a week, two a week, something like that, and kind of slowly get yourself to that ending, to that payoff. And I really enjoy it. So I would definitely recommend that one. I'd like to see more people watch that anime and talk about it because it's really good. The other one I want to mention is Kekkaishi. This one, I remember I caught a few episodes on like Cartoon Network or whatever it was when I was young, and I watched like 3 episodes. I remember liking it and trying to keep up with it every week, but I just was never very good at that. So then I came back to it as an adult, also when I was in college, to just watch the whole thing. It's like 52 episodes, I think. It's a shonen, and kind of a battle manga. It's a manga. It's an anime based on a manga, and I was really surprised at how good it held up. It's harder to find a version online that's in good quality, at least that I remember. Maybe things have changed, but in terms of the story and the character writing, I think is really held up. I think it really hits at that Full Metal Alchemist kind of subgenre of shonen, in which it's written by a woman, and I think the pros of that is that the characters are really emotionally deep in a way that only a woman could visualize. In my opinion, that's how I see it. Even the male characters, just the way they express emotions and how they interact with others is just very clearly written from the perspective of a woman. And I think that really, for this story, is a good thing. And it's a battle manga, it's similar to Full Metal Alchemist. And I love that. I love the character interactions. The main character, again, does remind me a lot of Edward from Full Metal Alchemist, as he's this shorter boy who is much more in touch with his emotions, but also doesn't know how to express them, and has this taller girl that he's interested in romantically, but doesn't really know how to go about that, and she doesn't know that he's into her, and it definitely, it might be just directly inspired by Full Metal Alchemist, I guess, I don't know, but it hits at that same place in my heart that Full Metal Alchemist did. And the plot is super interesting. So the way so the main character and the girl that he's interested in are Kekkaishi, They have these magical abilities that they can use to trap and destroy these kind of demonic ayakashi spirits that keep showing up at their school grounds. And so every night they have to go back to their school and kind of patrol the area to make sure they're getting rid of all the evil spirits. And the story just progresses from there. The main character's older brother, absolutely one of my favorite characters. He's super cool. He shows up just to be awesome every now and then and do something really cool. The spirits, the evil spirits, are designed very interestingly, and the fights that they have are really cool. I love the dynamic between the main character and the girl that he's interested in, and how they both have different strengths and they play off each other in that way. And one of the arcs in this anime is one of my favorite arcs of all time from anime. I don't want to spoil anything from it, but let me just say it is amazing. It's one of those arcs where it kind of starts chill, but by the end of it, everything's different and you're just blown away. You're like, how did we get here? And I love it when that happens. I love it when the ending is nothing like what you could have imagined it would be based on the start of the arc. And it is such a wild ride. Unfortunately, the anime only covers like 3/4 or a half of the manga. It never finishes covering the manga. But I went ahead and read and did finish the manga. And I would say the manga is worth reading too. Unfortunately, it's a little expensive and hard to get physically in English. I did what I could. I got some not fantastic library copies just to get them cheaper, and they don't look very good on my shelf, but it's a story worth reading. The ending is fitting. I think the ending is fitting for the story. It's not super bombastic or crazy like you see in a lot of shonen. They have to have like the big final fight. For Kekkaishi, it's much more like they solved the issues they needed to, and things are good. But I would definitely recommend it. The characters are really what draw me to this anime. You are gonna love all the characters in this show, and I highly recommend it. I don't think you'd regret watching it, even if you didn't carry on in the manga. I think the anime does end in a suitable and fine spot if that's where you wanted to end it. But at any rate, I definitely recommend it, and I think it's a wonderful anime. So those are a few recommendations for you. There's definitely other anime I could talk about, and I'm sure I will. Here's something I've been thinking of. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I was thinking of just making a video listing every anime I've ever seen, kind of giving it a rank compared to the others, just so it's out there. So I also for my own benefit. So I've got just that video, and just give a brief talk about each anime I've seen and what I think of it. So let me know if that's something that you would watch. Let me know if you want to hear more recommendations, or let me know what you would recommend to me. What anime do you enjoy that you don't think people talk about very often? And maybe I'll watch it and talk about it. So thank you for watching, and I hope I'll get one of those bigger projects out soon. Definitely some things I'm excited about, things I'm excited to talk about. I hope you had a good Sunday.